That's part of the frustration that the American people feel, because they've just gone through a period in which they were seeing a bunch of hidden fees, rate hikes that they didn't know about, fine print that they could not understand. That's true for credit cards, that's true for mortgages. It contributed to overall weakness in the economy.
All right, that was the president using a chunk of his news conference today to give banks, yet again, a piece of his mind. We have with us aftershock author Bob Wiedemer. He says banks are an easy scapegoat, but his bigger worry is a possible new round of bailouts. Now, Bob, you're the author of the runaway bestseller, as Neil Cavuto says. The New York Times is on the New York Times list and Wall Street Journal list. What are you worried about now?
Well, what I'm worried about is a little what the banks are worried about. Their business of banking is going down. They need other revenues. Lending business is going down. Their normal source of profits and revenues is going down. So looking at bank fees to do this, to the debit card fees. Government's taken away some of their fees. But I'll tell you what I'm most worried about.
How is the government taking away their fees?
Well, the government obviously was saying earlier that they couldn't have some of the debit card fees that they had been charging earlier. So they're charging a somewhat different debit card fee to make up for it. So,
oh, you're talking about the swipe fee versus the
swipe
debit card.
fee. Exactly.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You know, the president right now is sort of like, you know, change we can believe in. This is sort of along the lines of indignation we can believe in. Instead of fiscal leadership, we're getting kind of class warfare and an attack on the banks, kind of, as you have pointed out, election year rhetoric. I mean, can we believe it? And I get it. We get it that the banks have been really reckless and awful. Yeah. Is this going to play what the president is saying?
I think it is going to play what the president's saying with a certain group. I mean, clearly there's a group down on Wall Street right now that's going to play to very well. And I think that's getting support. You've seen all the unions join into that. A lot of other groups are getting behind it. So I think it'll play. Will it, is that going to help our economy? Is that going to help the banks? No, I think the banks have got some big problems that they're going to need to address, and they're going to be an issue for the economy going forward.
Yeah, but the issue also with the Wall Street protesters is student loans. It's not just the guys on Wall Street who are funding those student loans. It's, the other outfits across the country and the colleges who are overcharging for tuition. And I think it's a misdirected kind of, criticism from these people down on Wall Street. Most of them, or many of them, who are students, right?
Yeah, I'm sure so. And those student loans are a real problem. Where they've taken out huge loans, as you said, to pay tuitions that sometimes go up to $50,000 a year. It is outrageous, and that's part of the problem. Absolutely.
Bob, let's get back. I want to ask you about the banks. And you and I were talking at the break. Dexia is a Franco-Belgian bank, and it got a lot of Federal Reserve bailout money, right? It was one of the biggest users of the Fed's window. Yeah. Dexia, though, a few months ago was given the, good housekeeping seal of approval in Europe's, stress test. What's going on there?
Green light, clean slate. Just back in July, I think it was July 8th, they got the green light. And then 3 months later, they're being nationalized. They're going under. And that tells you why it's so difficult on these banks to really tell exactly what their assets are worth and what their losses are. If you can go from green to red or green to flat line in 3 months, it makes me wonder what these banks are holding in terms of assets, what they're worth. And in 2008, we really relaxed the rules, forcing banks to mark to market to give you a fair value of what those assets are worth.
Right.
So,
do you think we're headed for another bailout?
I think we are.
You think we should break up the banks?
I'm not sure breaking up the banks is going to be the answer to the question. I think we've got some big fundamental problems. Is if you break up the banks, you still have a lot of the bad loans out there. Those bad assets aren't solved by breaking up banks, are they?
Who are you worried about, Bank of America and Citigroup?
Yeah.
Both of them?
Both of them.
All right. Well, you're terrific, always smart. Thank you so much for your time, sir. The legend of Wall Street with us again, Mr. Wiedemer. Now, next up, from Wall Street to Washington.